Well, I'm going to do a quick documentary on my Comet clutch setup on the ROKON. I've got a ROKON Ranger 2001 with about 6,000 miles. The last 3,000 I've had a Comet clutch and made a variety of mistakes, and anyway, that's the reason I'm doing this YouTube, is to help you not do that. Anyway, I've pre-loosened this so I can have the camera in one hand, but I use this cheap Harbor Freight strap wrench to hold the bell, while I use a 1/2-inch wrench to loosen the 1/2-inch bolt. Once I take that out, easy enough, I lay it aside. I take the bell housing off, and I take the actual drive clutch off, and then the spindle, and then the belt, because I'm going to change it. I know it's worn. Now, while I'm at that, I'll inspect this and make sure it's good, which it is. You hardly ever have any problems unless you screw up. And then make sure you got some anti-seize so this thing is not froze up. And the back, pretty much bulletproof. I've only ever had problems with the back driven clutch if I've done something wrong and not maintained the drive clutch, so FYI. And the driven clutch should slide back and forth. It's kind of self-aligning, if you will. It must be able to do that, so plenty of anti-seize on that shaft. Then I'll take the guts over to where I've already done the cleaning too, by the way. And you'll see why I'm changing the belt. Obviously, it's worn. It's thinner. When it's thinner, that means you're going to have less speed. The belt, I've never had a belt break, but I do occasionally have to replace them every 1,000 miles or so. Anyway, these are the 3 parts that you need to maintain and clean. The bell, everything in here is the only place that ever has any wear. This part, centrifugal force, causes these 2 raised portions, one on each side, to touch here and push out. So, inspect your springs, make sure they're looking good. They should be fine. And then I'll take these 2 parts to my cleaning station. And I have carb cleaner, and I have rubbing compound. These are the 2 places where you have problems with the Comet clutch. This thing should be all clean. You got to replace it again about every 1,000 miles. But make sure it's super clean, and I go to the trouble. It takes 5 minutes to take it off. You just saw that. It takes 5 more minutes to clean it up. Make sure you clean the inside of the where the spindle goes as well. This is the side the belt rubs on. It goes against the engine side. And then this has a bevel on the right side. That goes against the engine. And this flat place, that's where your bell housing goes to keep it from turning. So you're going to have, ultimately, this against the engine. The beveled parts go in first, and it should just fall in. It ought to just be, that's how to make sure your clutch engages and disengages smoothly. It should just fall in and out. Now, I do need to get a new clutch. Mine, about every 1,000 miles, I'll spend $75 and get another one, because Comet does a really good job of tolerances, and mine's got a little bit of a jiggle in there. I can feel it. It's just not quite as tight as it ought to be. So just FYI, that's a good thing to do. And then to put it back on, it's simple enough to do just the opposite. And I'll take all my parts, including my new belt, and I'll go back over to the bike, which I've got sitting here ready. First thing you do is put the belt on, because you have to have that drive clutch off in order to get the belt on. So, come on, get in there. It's difficult to do everything one-handed. And then you've got to kind of pinch the belt, the new belt, to get it to go over everything. But it will. Trust me, it will. Ooh, the other one was so loose, it was super simple to get on. Anyway, when you pinch it, it ought to have just enough slack to where the clutch is not going to engage. So that's definitely gonna definitely going to work, and much better than that sloppy loose one. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to install your spindle, and the spindle has a Woodruff key, or not a Woodruff key, but a key slot, and so does this. So you just match them up with, again, with the beveled side going toward the engine. Put that on. Then you put the side with the belt side on. Goes in, and you just turn it around till it goes on. Boom, there it goes. And then goes the bell housing. Boom. And then I'm not going to do the one-handed thing with this. Well, maybe I will. Put the one-handed guy back to work. Make sure that straight side matches that straight side so it doesn't turn. And then put your 1/2-inch bolt back in there and turn that. There we go. Make sure it's on that squared off place. Good. All right. And then just wiggle it and make sure. Yeah. All right. And then I'll just take my strap wrench to hold it, 1/2-inch wrench to reinstall it, and you saw that entire process took one-handed, less than 10 minutes. Okay, to install a Comet clutch, you remove the original Salisbury clutch. Again, this is a 2001 Ranger with about 6,000 miles on it, about 4,000 with the Comet clutch. You remove the Salisbury clutch drive and driven, take them completely off. Then the Comet should just slide on over the Woodruff keys. There's a 3/4-inch bolt that holds it all together, and it apply plenty of lubricant or anti-seize. It should float like this. And then the same thing with the drive. Just remove everything from the Salisbury and slide the parts on. Boom. You have to put the belt on with the drive cover off, because there's no way it's going to come over that. It's too tight to do that. So you put the belt on, then you put the guts on and tighten this 1/2-inch bolt down. Boom, you're done. You got a Comet clutch. Now, in order to adjust it, you want to have that front bolt on the engine. I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a little drain here, like an oil drain. You want that as far forward as you can, actually almost touching the frame. There it is right there. Let's see if I can get it. There it is right there. Anyway, you want to bring that forward as far as you can till it's almost touching the frame, because that's what you need to do in order to get your max performance from the clutch. Some of the guys have elongated the holes and carved off part of that bolt so they could even slide it further, but I like it like this. If you've got a good belt, it's going to be as tight as you can get it without it actually causing the driven to go. It should just turn. The engine should turn without the belt turning. So that's key if you don't want the transmission to grind when you put it in and out of gear. So there's a shaft to shaft measurement that you're supposed to be looking for, but trust me, just go as far as you can go to start with. There's one bolt on the top of mine that it holds, and I did have to elongate that. You can see the slot behind it, because I pushed the engine forward in order to make the belt tighter. In order to do that, I had to elongate this. Instead of elongating the 4 bottom ones, I elongated that one, which worked just fine. The engine itself slides forward. There's four bolts go into the engine right there, and I'm not sure what the 1/2-inch, I think. Anyway, and then on the bottom of the bike, there are 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, you loosen those, and then I just put some wood paint sticks or whatever between the battery and the motor and tapped them in, and that slid the engine forward and held it while I retightened everything. And then when it was all tight down there, I also tightened this one up at the top. And at that point, your belt should be, if you pinch it, you should be able to get it down to where it's, I don't know, less than 1.5 inches on a new belt. My other belt was almost touching. I was able to get, with this arrangement I just showed you, I'm able to get 33, 34 miles an hour. With the loose belt, I went out this morning and I was getting 32 with the loose belt. And I could also actually touch this. So certainly 33, 34 mile an hour, I'm happy with that. I just want to be able to go 30 without being wide open. I don't go 30 very often, but when I do, just as soon not be wide open. And I've replaced all of my cover bolts with these thumb screws. You can buy them at Lowe's. I do every one because I do a lot of riding and a lot of maintenance. It's easy for me to just grab hold of it with my finger instead of breaking out a wrench. So the ones on this side, the ones on the other side, everywhere there was a cover that had a bolt, I replaced it with the thumb screws.